campuses throughout Africa and the challenges encountered based on the mission to do that, and any future educational projects for Africa.
Wow, that's a whole lot. But now I want to introduce our audience to one of my very good friends. He's been on the show a couple of times, and I'm so happy that he's here in studio with me. I mean, I'm talking about actually in studio in the flesh with me right now. I want to introduce you to Dr. Raplum. How you doing, sir?
James and Michelle, I'm doing great, and it's really nice to be with you.
Wow. Dr. Plum, so we're talking about Africa, and I know that you've been to 35 plus countries there. Can you tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit about some of your experiences in Africa and some of the initiatives that you have going on? Because to go somewhere 35 times, that means that I know God was with you all that time.
Yes.
Plus, you have a vision on some other things that you're trying to do.
Happy to do that. So my first time in Africa was in Kenya, and when I was like 23 years old. We flew in one prop plane on a dirt strip up in northern Kenya, and in the Pokot region, took a helicopter to a mountaintop, and there was a whole series of villagers that were patiently waiting for a mobile medical clinic that we were doing. And I had been a Christian about 4 years when I was 19. I accepted Christ, and I had a sense of destiny and what I would be doing in Africa. And of course, I've traveled many places, but as you mentioned, over the years, I'm in my 60s, so over the last 40 years, I've traveled in about 35 out of the 54 countries. In those early days, I was working in different relief organizations, World Vision and elsewhere. Did a lot of relief and development work. But over the years, I've done more that tries to help build sustainability and self-sufficiency outside of bringing aid from the outside. Africa really has everything it needs. It has natural resources, it has human resources, it has intellectual capital. And so your guest that'll be joining us soon, promoting the strengthening of the educational system for all of the youth of Africa and adults is really quite important, and proper training for jobs and so forth. But the initiatives I'm working on now, I have particular involvement in the DRC, Democratic Republic of the Congo, with my good friend Jean-Luc Shishimbi, who is a naturalized American citizen from the Congo, lives in San Diego, but now spends about 7-8 months out of 12 there. There's two things. We have a foundation, and we're working on 3 initiatives for the people in the Congo: food security, clean water, and primary health care. And in the Congo, just based on the history and economic situation, they import 90% of their food from outside. And so we're working on a major agribusiness initiative to grow locally grown products, vegetables and other things, and that will help not only workers, train workers, and provide jobs, but provide more affordable food and locally grown products. And then, of course, in the clean water area, that's common. We know that that's a necessity for good health, and there's all kinds of diseases that are generated from unclean water. So those are 3 initiatives. I'm also working on a unique project. I was asked to be the project coordinator, I guess, with a team to write a book on the history of South Sudan. And President Salva Kiir would, of course, be the current president. And
I want you to hold that thought, because I want to hear a little bit more about it. We're going to take a station break.
Alrighty.
But hold that thought,
All right.
because I want to hear about this initiative, this book. And I tell you what, if you want to be part of this great conversation, The best way to do it is go to the comments portion of wherever you're watching it at, and just ask this great man and our other guests any questions that you want to. You can even ask me a question. I tell you, it's your life. I'm Dr. James Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
Stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity. Coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
Hi, I'm Todd Pierick, the producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And in the new audio version of his book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, you can join James as he shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of his book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by Dr. James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold.
Hello. Hey, I'm James Cooley. I am the founder and CEO of the Cooley Foundation, Options, Opportunities, / Choice Program. Our primary mission is to help build a foundation of our youth and young adults and communities. And we encourage everyone to dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. And the way that you do that is, first of all, you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you are here for a purpose. You also have to be able to step out your comfort zone and do things that you probably didn't think that you can do.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phases and stages. These are your experiences that teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James Cooley is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. Dr. Cooley is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to the J.C. Cooley Show, Dr. James Cooley Show. But I tell you, Dr. Plum here was really putting it down, and I'm interested to find out a little bit more about the book that he was telling us about prior to the break, and about some other initiatives that he has going on with Africa, and also with a lot of his colleagues that they're doing a lot of great things. So we're going to get off into all of that, those things. I tell you, if you want to be part of this conversation, you can call in 1-888-344-1170, or you can go to the comments and just write in, ask me a question, ask Dr. Plum a question, ask our other guests if they, once they come on air. So, Dr. Plum, you was, prior to the break, you was telling me about a book that you was co-authoring with, and a lot of other things that you're doing, and this sounds so interesting.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Well, as your audience undoubtedly knows, much of the complexities of Africa relate to the post-colonial era and the abuse and taking advantage of people and resources over decades of time. So there's extensions of that, and they've leveled out, and there's been much progress. But in the case of South Sudan, which is just a 10-year young country, received its independence, there were many years of genocide, of civil war. The predominantly Muslim Khartoum-based government and the predominantly Christian and animist Juba southern portion were at war, and it's the innocent people that suffer. But in the midst of that is the Chinese and other European, and I don't know about American in this case, but sometimes American, but in this case trying to get oil, and they're just the raping and pillaging of Africa for its natural resources. So that's the backdrop. But in any event, one of my dear friends, Ethiopian businessman, contacted me a few months ago, knew I had a fairly deep knowledge of Africa, and asked if I could help be the project coordinator. Now, there is a writer, there is an editor, there is a publisher. I'm not doing that, but I'm helping to hopefully bring a balanced book on the history of South Sudan, which, of course, includes the history that I just briefly mentioned. It includes the victory and success of the general, now President Salva Kiir, and his team. But in the midst of the current situation, let me just add Russia and Ukraine. So there are still many IDPs, internally displaced persons, in UN-run camps in South Sudan. It's still a very impoverished and a challenged country, with food security being a major problem, and much of Middle East, Africa food came from Ukraine. Now, with Putin and his cronies bombing the crap out of Ukraine, and blocking the ports of Odessa and elsewhere, and Odessa is a beautiful city. I've been there before, but there's going to be a famine. There's going to be global food insecurity, but there will absolutely be a famine in the northern third of Africa, unfortunately, again, which will probably rival the great famine of Ethiopia of a few decades ago. So it's a very complex situation. But anyway, the book will hopefully give a honest assessment of the history and more importantly of the opportunity. And I think that's really the theme of your show, James and Michelle, the great resources that God has placed in the hearts and minds of the people, of the natural resources. I said in my book, All Who Wander, certainly most non-traveling Americans, but many people don't realize that Africa is as big as the United States, China, and Europe combined. I mean, it's a huge continent with all the resources it needs, and with the right education and economic development, it is the powerhouse of the future. And that's why good leadership and honesty and is needed, because the powers of the world, Asian and European and otherwise, are there taking advantage of it now. So we need to be ambassadors of light and truth, and I've done my best to do that during my years in Africa. So.
Well, you mentioned that, so you identified a lot of these things in the book, and it's my understanding that Africa has so many resources. I'm talking about untouched resources.
Yes.
That can be very beneficial to the world. But just like you mentioned famine, you mentioned hunger, you mentioned wars, especially here over in Europe, saying Ukraine, that we're not working together as a world with nations with so many resources that could help the world out. What are some of the recommendations or some of the things that you might have to share with us?
I have an immediate one. So again, I'm focused on the Congo currently, but I'll tell you one other project. But 80% of the world's rare earth minerals come from Central Africa, and minerals like coltan and cobalt and things that are needed for technology, for cell phones, the whole rare earth mineral need to keep our technology going is currently they're mined and purchased by external countries, Asian and European and elsewhere, and then they're taken back and refined and turned into finished products. And to answer your question, what needs to take place is for infrastructure and investment into Africa so that they can take their own natural resources and turn them into finished products and continue to make the profits that the other countries are making out of the minerals. In other words, increase the level of education. Certainly do the things I mentioned in my humanitarian project that I mentioned. Clean water, food security, healthcare. Those are basics. When you get past the basics, there's proper housing. There's justice and civil society, education and economic development and social enterprise and commercial enterprise. Those are all things that have to take place, and that's one of the things that I think answers your question.
It does. And a lot of folks, just like my very good friend, Dr. Sunshine Silas and Lisa Arcadia, they have this initiative, big initiative, called Refocus Africa. And basically, as we know that we are not always going to be here forever, and we have to educate and we have to train, our future leaders that we have to pass the torch to. And according to Dr. Sunshine, Nigeria, the population, the majority of the population, 200 million people, 7% of the population is 28 and below. And
Yes.
But you still have to, even though you have young folks, you have to teach them, you have to train them, you have to guide them in leadership. So refocusing, I believe, Africa requires us to prepare the next generations and the generations there are to come. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you've struck at the heart of the solution, James, because we use phrases like our youth are our future, and with the population percentage as young as it is in Africa, this is the absolute best time and necessary time to bring opportunity beyond that which exists now. And I've had, I've worked on 4 degrees and understand the value of education. You yourself have similar, and there's no substitute for learning, but there's also a need to have an environment where after you've learned, you have a reasonable chance of engaging what you do. And I think that's another part of the transition. Having educated and values-based. Now, I am a Christian, so I'll say Christian, but I'll say values-based for those that are not, because not everyone is one faith or another, but honest, values-based, ethical, well-educated, articulate people to begin to populate government, industry, and all sectors of society, so that acceleration of the investment of education can take root and flower and blossom.
I want to pick, we're going to take a station break, but I want to pick it up about the investment of education, not just over in Africa, but all over the world. I mean, and so we're going to take a station break. We're going to pick it up when we get back, and we're going to pick it up with investment of education, because I think it's so important that we utilize education. Tell you, we're going to take a station break, but we'll be back with more of the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, and more of this great conversation with Dr. Ralph Plum. We'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity. Coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
There's much truth in a journey that ain't over yet. Life's precious gift of time. Just like
Go ahead. You do it.
It's Dr. Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
As he shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of his book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by Dr. James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold.
The Answer San Diego, streaming now on smart speakers and Odyssey.com.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phases and stages. These are your experiences that teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James Cooley is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. Dr. Cooley is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James Cooley, and I tell you, Dr. Plum here is educating us on a lot of things and a lot of initiatives that he is working with a lot of his colleagues. And we're going to pick it up from there, and we're going to talk some more about this because I find it so intriguing and so important. And so, Dr. Plum, we left off, we were talking about the importance of education and why it's important that we make sure that we train our youth and young adults because they are going to be our leaders of the world. Can we pick it back up with that?
Yes. Well, education takes many forms, and there's formal learning in an institutional setting or a digital setting where you're reading, writing, interacting. But education certainly takes place in life, in the everyday, and I've always appreciated the saying that success is just picking yourself up one more time than you fall down, and perseverance is really important. And life has its phases of challenge and sadness and joy and prosperity. So education takes many forms and it takes many topics. So education in the basics, then there's education in vocational training, education in advanced learning. And one area, I'd like to just give you an example, education in the health sector. This particular project I did during the Obama era. There was a grant from the federal government, which I applied for, wrote, and successfully secured. It was called PEPFAR, which is an acronym, President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, under the Obama administration. And in geopolitics, there's talk, there's north, south, east, west, but there's a really emergence of south-south partnerships. That is to say, southern hemisphere countries south of the equator. There's another book that speaking of education, that I love by C.K. Prahala, which is The Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid, and it just talks about the value and the economic value and the existential value of the people that still live in poverty but have enormous potential. And but anyway, this particular grant required me to locate a medical institution that could help the Ministry of Health in Kampala, and Yoweri Museveni was still the president and still is the president of Uganda. And I serve on a hospital board in northern Luzon, Philippines, so South-South partnership. So Dr. Rufi Makagba agreed to send his biomedical technicians to Kampala to do training, and then Ugandan biotechs came to the Philippines, and they were working on bloodborne safety and laboratory, techniques that would, minimize disease getting outside of the controlled environment and so forth. So it's just one of many ways that education, and in this case, education that involves the health of an entire population is vitally important. So
let's touch bases on that a little bit, along with education, health, because it is needed so badly, and not just in Africa, but a lot of places. Yes. But that's one of the big initiatives that I believe is a big push in getting other nations that have the technology, that has the doctors and nurses and medical professionals to team in, and also utilize our training, our institutions, our schools to cross-train with other folks from institutions from other countries. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, as consistent with what I said earlier, Africa has all the resources it needs to be a monstrously profitable and successful continent, and it's well on its way. But it must develop sustainability and infrastructure and capacity to retain the intelligentsia. The phrase brain drain. A lot of students will go elsewhere, go to Oxford or here or there, wherever, go to Stanford and stay. But Africa needs its young trained leaders to return to Africa and to invest in the future of Africa. And in the case of medical technology, again, I would make a case, and I did teach for a short while at USC, University of Southern California, Marshall School of Business, in social entrepreneurship. You have commercial entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship, and in both cases, the investment into the people in the infrastructure to stay and to not just export raw materials or take its smartest young people and send them to the UK or the United States, but to keep it in Africa to do what you're saying, and I strongly support that.
35 countries that you have visited. Can you tell us about some of the countries that really touch your soul?
Yes.
And why is it so important that you continue to go back, you can continue to help as much as you can with knowledge, with just your presence, and just working with the leaders of these countries? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, let me give a past and a present response. Past response, by interesting circumstances, I became a friend of F.W. de Klerk before he recently passed away, and had the privilege of meeting Nelson Mandela and understanding the difficult journey he followed to his freedom and to his prominence as the president, following de Klerk's stepping down, and the ANC took over in that region. So as I traveled to South Africa many times through those relationships, I saw again tremendous opportunity, but offsetting that with Kailashita slums and Soweto and so many oppressed people, and the journey hasn't ended, and in the course of I think any political environment, you always have corruption, but I did my best to work with local funders and to do some humanitarian projects, and of course that country went through you know, quite a bit of struggle and is still on its journey. But to see them move from you know, the apartheid system to not fully free and prosperous, but moving in a better direction is encouraging. It was encouraging to me. And then a current example, I'm working with a colleague of mine that actually I'm going to introduce to you so he can be on your show.
I look forward to it.
Dr. Cooley, his name is Dr. Should I keep going?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
So his name is Dr. Eric Hall, and he currently has an agreement with the president and the Ministry of Agriculture in Malawi. That was my current and second answer to your question. I went to Malawi when I was 30-something, which is 30-something years ago. You know, the heart of the people were just a gentle, gracious people, a loving population. But still, you know, they had Lake Malawi and some good agriculture and great fish and whatever, but the same thing, infrastructure that needs development. And there's an agreement now with 8,000 hectares of land, and a hectare, of course, is 2.45, so it's a good size. And they're setting up a center of excellence to do some major agribusiness and commercial development of food. Again, because of history and injustice and many other things, food security has been a problem. But there's absolutely no reason why Africa shouldn't be completely independent in terms of its own food production, because it has the most fertile and, you know, among the most arable land on the planet. So anyway, that's a current example of a project that's underway, and I'll be actually traveling there sometime in October. So
wow, it just sounds so intriguing, and you've been there so many times, and you've been to 35 different countries. Probably been to Zanzibar and Tanzania and all of that, and you know, I'll tell you,
I haven't climbed Kilimanjaro though. I think I'm too old for that now.
You know, one of these days, I'm going to go over there.
Good.
I've never been to Africa before, and I call it the motherland.
You should. I'm going in October. You want to come?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know yet. I tell you. Well, we're gonna take a station break, but we are going to come back and continue this great conversation with Dr. Rep Plum. If you want to be part of the conversation, just go to the comments, put in there, and ask this great man any question you want to. It's your life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
There's more greatness to help you overcome adversity. Coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley. Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Yeah. The James Cooley Show. It's your life. Come on.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phrases and stages. These experiences teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to It's Your Life with James Cooley. James is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. James is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get you equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, James Cooley.
a series of circles and cycles, phases and stages. These are your experiences that teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James Cooley is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. Dr. Cooley is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James Cooley, and I tell you, just having so much fun with Dr. Plum here. Missing my great doctor, Sunshine and Lisa, but you know, we're going to get them on. I know they had the flight got delayed, and just so happened God sent someone in their place at the moment that's been to Africa 35 different countries and an absolute expert and educating us all. You know, so I want to continue that discussion, and you still have a chance to be part of the conversation if you like. Want to say one thing: my new book, Country Boy, City Boy Journey, my audio book. I'm getting ready to start pushing that. As I said, at 50 platforms. It's narrated by myself. I went back and narrated the whole book, and so I want everybody to just check it out and go out and buy a copy of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey audiobook narrated by Dr. James J.C. Cooley in preparation for the sequel of Country Boy, City Boy Journey. It's called The Journey Continued, and that's going to be coming out probably in January as well. But I want to get back to this great topic that we're talking about, Refocus Africa. And we're talking to Dr. Rap Plum. And Dr. Plum, I'm just fascinated. Can you just pick it up?
Sure.
During the break, you were telling me about Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, my first trip to Addis Ababa was in the just post-Mengistu period, and of course that struggle continues in different forms today. But I had the privilege of being asked to teach for a summer in an international program. You talked about having partnerships with other institutions. So I traveled on behalf of Azusa Pacific University in their international program, and the class I taught was current issues in leadership. Now, you might wonder why a North American guy would have the audacity to teach that in an African country, but so I did my best, obviously, to contextualize it. So I had two groups of students, each about 50, 40. The class size was about 40, 45 people. The first group of students was in Addis, the capital, and they were young college graduates. This was a master's level course for a larger program, and it was a pure joy. We had in-class teaching. We had field practicum opportunities. We had a final project, and we had a lot of interaction both inside the classroom and outside. And I was, you talk about the youth of Africa and the leadership of Africa, bright, vibrant, full of hope, wonderful. I'll call them kids because I was old, but kids in their 20s, and it was such a joy. And when I would ask questions, there was lively discussion, there was disagreement, there was interaction. It was just a wonderful experience. The second group, same size, were a few senior but mostly mid-level government employees in different departments in Awassa, another city, but not in the capital. And I was struck with the difference in their interactions. I would ask a question, which the young people would just jump on and go at it, and I'd hear crickets. It's like I'd ask the question again, and you might have one guy in the back say something, but it showed the I don't know, the restrictions that they felt to speak freely, and they were working in an environment that was, you know, a government environment, and they probably had their boss or their co-workers there. And the metaphor for me of life, the metaphor of life was that, you know, in a free and safe environment, people can learn and grow and develop entrepreneurship and all kinds of things. But in a restricted or a punitive or or a corrupt, I suppose, environment, you're not gonna get anywhere. And so back to the original comment you made some time ago is, you know, Africa has all the resources it needs. It just needs to educate, develop, encourage, finance, and support. And again, I'm going to repeat something I said. In whatever sector, health, agriculture, industry, mining, whatever it is, education, Africa needs to take its natural resources, human, financial, and intellectual, and invest and reinvest it back in Africa, and not keep it there so it doesn't bless the world, but keep it there so the maximum advantage of the resources God's given Africa can be used for its betterment and the betterment of the planet.
Wow. You know, so Africa, for as funding, I mean, for as money that a lot of the employees that work is almost nothing. At least that's what was told of me. With a better education, with a better understanding, just like my great friend Dr. Sunshine and Lisa are working on teaming with universities in the United States, kind of like more of an exchange, like taking the resources from, I'm talking about an education perspective, identifying, you know, future leaders in Africa and putting them in the universities or schools or in exchange programs.
Yes.
To cross train, cross teach, especially the young. Just like I mentioned, Nigeria, 70% of the population is under 28 years of age.
Yes.
But from a leadership perspective, with education, with training, you can teach more and more and more.
Yes.
Of the folks to be able to utilize all the great resources that they have there, because it's probably enough resources to plenish the whole world on a lot of things. And the political perspective of it, and also the funding that, you know, by trading with other countries, but you have to have an understanding how to do that, to bring resources into Africa to make that better. Okay.
Your comment prompts me to respond this way. So there's mutual value in cross-fertilization. I mentioned being on the board of this Philippine hospital. So we're currently working with a U.S. company that needs to recruit nurses. We have a shortage of nurses, and that's a value. And when you look at Africa, the same thing. There's resources that will benefit the partnering institution. And one of the areas that I've spent some of my time as the CEO of a couple of charities myself over the years, I've raised in the aggregate of over $2 billion for one thing or another. It sounds impressive, but, you know, start with $1, and before you know it, you know, it adds up. But one area that could be of great value is for companies to set up a scholarship program so that they invest in the training of those African young people that in turn then would be able to work in maybe their Nairobi or their Johannesburg office or something. I mean, there's so many ways that partnerships like that benefit the entire food chain, if you will. I use that metaphorically, you know, the entire food chain. It's not just taking stuff out of Africa. It's it's benefiting the entire system. So I would really support what you just said.
Oh yeah, and it's just requires love. I'm talking about, and what I mean by that, Dr. Plum, is being able to just get sight out, because a lot of people, I believe, have prejudice based on a person not being like them, not looking like them, not being the same color. All that stuff to me does not matter. We all are children. At least I believe in God. I mean, I'm Christian. We all are children of God.
Amen.
Regardless where you are from, what nation you might have been born in. And each one of us, bring value and purpose to wherever we are at.
Absolutely.
And we have to make sure that we're able to reach out and help, I say, our people, meaning all people, to understand it's all about love. It's all about love. It's all about being able to get out there and having the opportunity to share that love and to raise each other up. We got less than a minute and a half on the radio. 2 takeaways from this great conversation we had. What are 2 takeaways you want our listeners and viewers to get from this?
Well, on behalf of your guests that were delayed in their travels, I look forward to the Nigerian story and more in-depth sharing of the educational programs that they're going to promote. That's very valuable. But as far as my own comments and our conversation, I would just encourage your listeners and viewers to just be light wherever they are, and to be a positive voice and person for good. There's great evil in the world. There's many challenges, but the light does not need permission of darkness to shine, and we all need to shine with whatever light God has given us.
And we all have that light in our hearts. We all, the heart, I believe, the heart and the soul is light. And we have a choice to choose to follow the light, I believe, or to shy away from it and go to the dark side. I don't encourage that at all. I say follow the light. Dr. Plum, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today.
God bless you, brother.
God bless you. And I tell you, I want everybody to always dream big, think big, and be big in everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. See you.
The James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. To learn more about Dr. James Cooley and how you can support the show or become a guest, visit CooleyFoundation.org. Join James for more motivation and inspiration to help you become equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. This has been It's Your Life with Dr. James Cooley, where you learn how to...
So Dr. Plum, we still we're still on television, and we still got our streaming networks. Our audience are still there.
You got a question?
Yes. So just tell me, as a chaplain in the Navy, which I found out, did you have the opportunity during your time in service of going to Africa, or
not Navy duty?
Not Navy duty.
Yeah.
When did you first say I'm going to Africa, and what was the reason why you?
Yeah, I was a young man, 23. I was working for World Vision, or maybe I was 25. I think I was 25. Anyway, I went there on just to bring some donors to a project so they could fund it. And Pokot was a particular tribal group in the north of Kenya. So that was my first. But I knew God wanted me to. I knew I'd have involvement in Africa for the rest of my life, and I've shared just a few stories, but I'm excited about this Congo stuff we're working on, and I'm going to get you a couple more.
I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to the guests.
Yeah.
So we got the television portion of it, but I want to thank you so
I don't have to answer.
No, we done ran out of that. But I want to thank you so much again.
Yeah.
And our viewers out there, I hope you got as much out of this as I did. It was absolutely fantastic. We'll be on the same time tomorrow. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 4 days a week. It's your life. I'm Dr. James Cooley. We'll talk to you later.
Straight out of my head. Guess we all live